الحمد لله وكفى وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات كانت لهم جنات الفردوس نزلا سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم. There's an old adage in the English language that goes, the grass is always greener on the other side. This is said all the time, and I'm sure all of you have heard it one time or another, that the grass is always greener on the other side, meaning that things always look better from someone else's perspective. Or you look at something else from someone else's possessions, they always look better to you. Remember, in one of the meetings at school where I work, someone mentioned the grass is always greener on the other side, and our IT coordinator actually gave a very interesting response. He said the grass is always greener on the other side if you don't water your own lawn. So I thought that was a brilliant response, because the reality is that's the truth. So let's say you have a lawn, you have your garden, and rather than taking care of your garden, you look at the grass of your neighbor, peeking over the fence, and stare at it and marvel and stare and gaze, and you're amazed at the person's grass. 10 minutes pass, 20 minutes pass, 30 minutes pass. For 30 minutes, yes, you've been gazing and marveling and remarking on the other person's lawn, but the reality is for 30 minutes you've been neglecting your own lawn. So for 30 minutes, a person's been marveling at that person's lawn and they've been neglecting their own lawn. If they took those 20 minutes or 15 minutes, whatever the case may be, and spent it on mowing their lawn and manicuring their lawn and tilling their garden and planting their flowers, then rather than marveling at someone else's lawn, they would have a lawn to be marveled at themselves. That's usually the problem with humans. Human beings, we're very lazy. Kusala, We're very weak. Da'ifa. We're people that we like easy solutions and we don't like to work for the solution. So it's very hard to get a nice lawn, but it's very easy to gape at someone else's lawn. When you gape at someone else's lawn, you see all they have, then you begin to wonder, why don't I have it? The reality is that neighbor may have spent 10, 15, 20 days getting the lawn ready for spring, getting the lawn ready for summer, and they put, they saw the grass was dying in certain areas, and they put new seeds in, and they grafted the grass, etc. And they did everything necessary. Now they have a nice lawn to boast of. On the way here, and the way to work actually I work in Villa Park, I get on 294 South from 90. So there's this baseball field. It's right next to O'Hare Airport. It's not a baseball field, it's a softball field. It's some Chicago softball team. And I was looking at their lawn today as I was pulling onto the 294 South, and I was marveling how green the grass is. But, I drive by it every day, and I always see some machine or another there. Someone's always plowing the field or whatever. They're doing something there. There's always a lot of irrigation. There's always water there, etc. There's always some method to make the grass very green. I look at my own grass in front of my home, it's yellow. There's areas where there was crabgrass growing, so I got this crabgrass remover and I poured it over. I poured too much. Now that place won't grow any grass whatsoever. So now what I do, I spend my days and nights marveling at that lawn as I drive to work every day. If I added up the 30 seconds an hour a day I spend marveling at that lawn, 30 seconds to a minute a day I spend marveling at that lawn, if I added up and put that time into my own lawn, it would have been an amazing lawn by now. But what happened was, after a couple times, I got lazy and I just stopped. This is the nature of human beings. We get lazy very easily. We always see the good in other sides. We always see the benefit of someone else, but we don't apply it to ourselves. And as a result, we always spend time being jealous. When we spend time being jealous, we're always looking at what we don't have, and the actuality is we could have it ourselves if we just tried. If we just put a little effort in, we'd have it ourselves. Let's take Isnu, for example. You're trying to build a masjid. So it's very easy to look at Naperville Masjid, or Naperville small, but if you look at IFS, or if you look at, Rockford now has a new facility, mashallah. You can look at IFS or MEC or etc. Masjid Hada. Say, man, look how they have such a nice masjid. It's so big. They easily facilitate everything. And if you spend all your days and nights looking at them and not working, you'll never build a new masjid. We'll be stuck in the same place, and then you'll have to pray 2 different Jumu'ahs. If you put the same effort forth, which you guys, alhamdulillah, are doing, then you'll have these fundraisers. You'll get 100,000 here, 80,000 here, 200,000 here, and slowly you'll build up. That's what's going to happen. So we never, as Muslims, we don't sit there gazing on the other side. In fact, what does Allah Ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually orders us to lower our gaze from 2 things in the Quran. One thing He orders to lower our gaze from is the opposite gender. قُلْ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ يَغُضُّ مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِمْ. Tell the believing men to lower your gaze. I.e., don't gape. Now, if you're married, this is a whole different... See, if you're not married, this doesn't actually apply as well. But the unmarried man, the unmarried woman, they look. Now, it makes no difference. But the married man, what happens? The married man, the married woman, then what happens? They have a little altercation at home. Then they leave the house frustrated. He or she leaves the house frustrated. And now they go to the mall, they go to the store, they go to the masjid, they go wherever. And now the grass is seeming very green on the other side. So look at someone else and think, oh, subhanAllah, that's just, I'm sure she gives no problem to her husband. The reality is she probably gives the same amount of problems to her husband. Husbands and wives, we always have difficulty anywhere and everywhere we are. That's the reality of marriage. But Allah Ta'ala tells us the grass is not greener. قُلْ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ يَغُضُّ مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِمْ قُلْ لِلْمُؤْمِنَاتِ يَغْضُضْنَ مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِنَّ. The believing women, don't just think that your husband is this, tyrant. The grass is not always going to be green on the other side. You look at everyone else and then come back home. The reality is that grass could be just as green if you put some time into your lawn, i.e. time into your marriage. What does Allah Ta'ala order us? He orders to lower our gaze to the mata'ul hayat dunya, to the temporary rewards of this dunya. That's the only 2 places. One, He says, don't lower your gaze to the opposite gender. 2, lower your gaze to the dunyawi things of this world. All the things that, you're not going to really get. Now what happens? A person drives by these homes, and we see it all the time. See the families, they drive, and they say, oh, let's just turn on this street. Why? Oh, I just want to look at the houses. So now what happens? You look at the houses, and maybe you and your husband or you and your wife are out of this socioeconomic class. Now you see these very nice houses, and you look and you look and look. Now the grass seems very green on the other side. But that same person who has the 3-story house and the 8-bedroom, 7-bathroom house and the 4-car garage, etc., that grass seems very green. And that same person looks over to you out the window and looks at you and your wife smiling, and now they have this headache of a marriage, and you have a great marriage, and to them, your grass seems green. So we as human beings, we get trapped in this. We always look everywhere else except for ourselves and except for our own situation, and rather than watering our lawn and putting effort into our own garden, we go look everywhere else. Of course the grass will seem greener on the other side. We have to put an effort forth. Now it's interesting that for the believer, the Prophet ﷺ was very clear. He's very strict that you should always paint your life with a very positive brush. Allah Ta'ala mentions in the Quran that Sibghatullah. وَمَنْ أَحْسَنَ اللَّهِ سِبْغَةً. This is the color of Allah. It's the not the stain. What do you call it when you dye? The dye of Allah. The Sibghatullah. وَمَنْ أَحْسَنَ اللَّهِ سِبْغَةً. And what's a better dye than this? Now, if you look at this particular verse, and the verse that follows it, فَإِنْ آمَنُوا بِمِثْلِ مَا آمَنْتُمْ بِهِ فَقَدْ اهْتَدَوْا. If you look at these verses together, فَسْيَكْفِيكُمُ اللَّهُ وَاسْمِ الْعَلِيمِ سِبْغَةُ اللَّهِ. Actually, when Uthman radiallahu anhu was assassinated, when he became shaheed, when he was beheaded, his blood fell upon that verse. He was reading the last pages of surah of the first juz, and as he was reading this, his blood, when he was beheaded, fell upon that verse. It's actually, you can see this Quran in, I think it's Turkey. So now you see this. Anyone would look at this and say, this is the last type of dye I would want. Who would want the stain of red on their body? Who would want the stain of blood on their body? But Uthman radiallahu anhu very clearly has now seen. He knew before, but now he's experienced that the blood of a shaheed, there's no better dye than that. I mean, there's no better dye. I mean, in fact, it comes in hadith, that I think it was Hassan radiallahu anhu, who says that in a dream he saw his grandfather, meaning the Prophet ﷺ. And next to the Prophet ﷺ was Abu Bakr and Umar. And then comes Uthman radiallahu anhu, and Uthman radiallahu anhu is carrying his head in his hands. And he turns to they're in front of the throne of Allah Ta'ala, and he asks Allah, Oh Allah, for what did the people butcher me like a cow? For what did the people butcher me? So yes, for that moment he went through difficulty. But in the hereafter, Sibghatullah, the grass is greener on the other side. In this dunya, towards the end of his life, the grass was not green, but he continued working. How do we know this? When he was made shaheed that day, what was he doing? He was fasting. And he actually took qaylula, he took the afternoon nap. And when he took the afternoon nap, he had a dream. And in that dream, what happened? He saw the Prophet ﷺ. And the Prophet ﷺ said, "Oh, Uthman, today you'll break your fast with me." Whose grass is going to be greener? Those killers, literally, they jumped in, they hopped over the fence, they came from the back, they came through the windows, and they attacked him. And Uthman, he just turned to them. He just said, "Do what you have to do. I already purchased Jannah twice from the Prophet ﷺ. Bi'r Rumah in Tabuk. I purchased Jannah twice from the Prophet ﷺ, meaning twice from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So do your worst." So they attack him, they knock him over, they crush his ribs, etc. They behead him. Sibghatullah, wa man ahsanullah sibgha. He gets to become shaheed. Who ends up in that? Whose grass is greener? On the surface, it looks like, oh man, it's poor Uthman radiallahu anhu. But the reality, actually, if you look at the historians, they say Na'ila radiallahu anha, when she came to defend her husband, Uthman radiallahu anhu, she reached out to stop the sword from attacking him, her fingers got chopped off. Now Uthman radiallahu anhu did not make dua against his killers until that happened. When that happened, he made dua, "Oh Allah, just as they made my wife's fingers fall off, make them fall apart." And the historians note that you can see one of the people within Medina, who was, within Mecca, within Medina, that he was walking and he had leprosy and people were running away from him. And literally parts of his body were falling off. And when asked, he said, "This is the dua of Uthman. Sibghatullah. This is the color of Allah." The grass was greener on his side. It looked like he was going through difficulty. In Jannah, there'll be no difficulty. So we have to begin to really work on our gardens. The Prophet ﷺ, one time, Abdullah bin Umar radiallahu anhu came to the Prophet and actually would sit in the masjid. Because Abdullah bin Umar radiallahu anhu was in his teens at this time. He was a teenager and he would sometimes just live in the masjid. Because, what's the difference? He had no family. He had a family, a father, a sister, etc. But his sister was the wife of the Prophet ﷺ. His father's Amir al-Mu'mineen, before Amir al-Mu'mineen, but he's Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu. Abdullah bin Umar radiallahu anhu, he used to stay in the masjid. And one time, after Fajr, Abdullah bin Umar radiallahu anhu used to see that the Sahaba used to ask the Prophet ﷺ, "This is what I had as a dream, what does it mean?" And he became very jealous. It's like, how can I begin to, I want this closeness, I want his direct attention. So he really was hoping he would have a dream. So one night he has a dream. And what's the dream? He is being carried by these angels. And he's brought to this wall of fire. And he's about to be thrown into the fire. And right before he's thrown in, one angel tells the other angels to stop. Now Abdullah bin Umar radiallahu anhu, he wakes up and he's like, "Man, I finally get a dream, but it's not a good dream. I don't want to tell the Prophet about this." But he's really worried. So he thinks to himself, how am I going to tell the Prophet about this without embarrassing myself? But alhamdulillah, he had an inroad. His sister was the wife of the Prophet, Hafsa radiallahu anha. So he went to Hafsa and told him the dream and told her to tell the Prophet. So the Prophet heard the entire dream, and remember, the grass is not always green on the other side. He made him recognize and take advantage of what he has, but what do you have to do? Water your lawn. Ni'ma rajulun Abdullah. What a great man is Abdullah. Lo kan yusalli bil layl. If only he performs prayer at night. Abdullah bin Umar radiallahu anhu, at that time he mentions himself, "I wasn't praying much tahajjud." After those statements, he said that he used to pray tahajjud so much that the Sahaba nicknamed him Akhul Layl, the brother of the night. But what did he do? He didn't look, the grass seemed green on the other side, right? All the Sahaba were coming to the Prophet with the dreams. Finally, he gets it, and now he's embarrassed. There goes my horrible lawn, I have nothing to present. But the Prophet makes him recognize, look, your lawn is great. Just turn your attention there. Don't worry about the Sahaba who come to me and seek my attention after Fajr. You were dealt really great cards. And what does he do? He takes advantage of it and he becomes the great Abdullah bin Umar radiallahu anhu, the great muhaddith, the great muttabi' sunnah, and he becomes the great person who we look at as being inshaAllah, the people of Jannah. So we have to really recognize what we have. All of us have gifts. Now, anyone who does any gardening, whether it's as unsuccessful as me or successful as others, you know that sometimes you need some aid. So you take out the Miracle Grow, whatever the case may be, right? You have to get some aid sometimes. You're like, hey, my flowers aren't growing enough, I'm going to put some special plant food, etc. into it. So we have some very special plant food coming up in 3 months. It's Ramadan. In 3 months, Ramadan is coming up. It's very scary how fast it's approached us now. In 3 months, the entire world will be flipped such that the jinnat, the devils that are evil, the jinnat that are evil, the devils, they're locked up. Our nafs will be crushed, and submission will be a daily activity. But we should not look, and what happens in Ramadan? We get to Ramadan, we always think this will be the best Ramadan, and then we regret it as we leave. We should realize that the grass will be green on our side as well if we put the effort in now. So now's the time. This is Jumadul Awwal, the 12th. Actually, the night began, the 13th. Tomorrow's the 13th day. So we should begin to make it a habit now. Tomorrow's the 13th. No, tonight's the 12th. Tomorrow night is the 13th. Monday's the 13th day, sorry. So we should think to ourselves, okay, what do I have to do in Ramadan? I have to fast. I should give sadaqah. Quran is the Shahrul Quran. It's the month of Quran. Alladhi unzila fihi al-Quran. That's what Ramadan is. I should attend the masjid, etc. But we all know if we do that beginning the first day of Ramadan, after 5 days we'll wear ourselves out. But 3 months in advance is quite a period of time to get used to this. So we should think to ourselves, okay, this Monday is the 13th. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm going to fast. Because it's the 13th, 14th, 15th. And if that's too much, fine, I will not fast 3 days straight. I'll just do the Monday, Thursdays. We should make that effort, make that intention. This month, next month. Jumad al-Awwal, Jumad al-Thani. I'll do all the Mondays and Thursdays. So we get in the habit, fasting 8-10 days a month. Then comes Rajab. In Rajab, we can say, okay, you know what? I did the past 2 months. I did 6, 8 days, 10 days a month. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the Mondays, Thursdays, and 13, 14, 15. So now it's going to be 11, 13, 14 days that we'll fast. Then comes Sha'ban. Sha'ban, the Prophet he encouraged us to fast the first half of Sha'ban. And so that's 15 days there. And the second half, that if you have the habit of doing Monday, Thursday, or something like that, then you can include those, but don't wear yourselves out. So if we do the first half of Sha'ban, 15 days, and then the Monday, Thursday that will come after, we'll get 19, 21 days in. Now when Ramadan hits, we'll be used to fasting. It won't be like all of a sudden fasting once in a while, maybe once a month or something, once every 2 months, to fasting 29, 30 days straight. That'll be too difficult. But now Ramadan will hit, and what will happen? We'll say, okay, alhamdulillah, I just fasted 6 days 2 months ago. Or 3 months ago. 2 months ago I fasted 10, 11 days. Last month I fasted 20 days. I can do this. 29, 30 days, I can do this. Now all of us can do it, because all of us eventually are able to fast anyway. Fasting is very, passive. You just don't eat, don't drink, don't have relationships with your spouse. That's it. But the reality is that becomes the fast of the layman. The fast of the muttaqi is what? Anything that displeases Allah we refrain from. So if we've been fasting for 3 months, initially we'll just fight hunger and thirst. But eventually, as we get closer to Ramadan, we'll fight anything that takes us away from Allah Ta'ala. Now we begin to say, okay, this month I'm going to fast from excessive internet uses. So I'll set a time. I'll say, this time, 10 o'clock in the morning. At work is different. At work you might have to use it more often. But you can say on the weekends, 10 o'clock in the morning, 3 p.m. in the afternoon, 3 in the afternoon, and 8 in the evening. That's when I'll check my email. And aside from that, I'm not going to touch my computer. Now what's going to happen? An entire world of time will open up. A world of time will open up, and then you think, subhanAllah, I had this time. What can I do with this time? Then you think, hey, Shahr Ramadan, alladhi unzila fihi al-Quran. This is the month of Quran. This is the month in which we should be excessive in Quran. So now we say, okay, I have this time that opened up, I'm going to now devote it towards Quran. Now we begin to devote it towards Quran. I know someone, I've actually met him once. I had the pleasure of meeting him once. Did I meet him? No. I met his students a couple times. I saw him once. I didn't meet him once, unfortunately. But he's from Toronto. He does 40 Qur'ans a Ramadan. Every Ramadan he reads 40 Qur'ans. Every Ramadan he reads 40 Qur'ans. He does one a day. Then he does, I think, every 3 nights he finishes a Qur'an in his tahajjud/tarawih. I'm happy if I'm not even 40 yet, I'm 32. Then in 32 years, if I did 1 Qur'an total in Ramadan, every Ramadan is 40 Qur'ans. Now perhaps we don't have to do that. But we can say to ourselves, okay, every year I try to finish 1 Qur'an. I think everyone tries to make a habit of finish 1 Qur'an in Ramadan. This year I'm going to finish 2 Qur'ans in Ramadan. After all, it's in the summer. And I'll be able to push myself a little because I don't have school. And maybe we do have school, maybe we do have work at least. But we can say, you know what, at least I freed up my time. So now how do we do it? We don't jump into Ramadan and say, I'm going to read 2 juz a day. What we say, it's Jumad al-Awwal, I'm going to begin by reading 1 page a day. And I'm going to do it consistent for the week. And if I can hit it for the entire week, then the next week I'm going to do 2 pages a day. And I'll keep that up for 2 weeks. I'm not going to push myself too much. After 2 weeks, is that consistent? Yes, let me push to 3 pages. Okay, you know what? I can do a quarter. I'll do a quarter easily a day. A quarter for most people only takes 5 to 10 minutes. Then they say, you know what? I can't do a half just straight, but I'll do a quarter in the morning, and I'll do a quarter in the evening. And then what happens? All of a sudden, it's really easy. Because now you've been doing it for 1 month straight, 1.5 months straight. Ramadan comes, we can push it a little more. Half a juz, 1 juz, whatever the case may be. We can build up to it. The grass is greener on the other side because we're so busy neglecting our own lawn. If we just look at our own lawn and see, what do I need to do? It's very easy. What else happens in Ramadan? In Ramadan, the shayateen are locked up. Now it becomes our opportunity to break away from shaitan's grasp. But that's not easy because every sin is an anchor. So what does Allah Ta'ala say? وَذَرُوا ظَاهِرَ الْإِثْمِ وَبَاطِنَهُ. To leave every sin. Be it ظاهرة, ظاهر الإثم if it's apparent, وَبَاطِنَهُ or if it's internal. So we say, okay, this is Jumad al-Awwal. What's one sin I do regularly? Okay, I'm cutting out that sin. I can't do it in 1 month. I'm going to give myself 2 months for it. Fajr, I miss it too often. That's the sin I'm knocking out these 2 months. Maybe we make the goal, 1 or 2 sins before Ramadan, we knock it out. Now, if we do that over the course of 50, 60 years, alhamdulillah, our forthcoming Ramadans will look very, very good. Look very good at that point. Sadaqah. We should tell ourselves, see, what's the mistake we make with sadaqah? We give, and then we get content. Well, the Prophet ﷺ, he was the most generous of mankind. Ajwadun nas, most generous of mankind. In Ramadan, he was even more generous. The hadith mentions that his generosity was so great, it was like the wind, the free-flowing wind. Everyone benefited. If you're an animal, you're a tree, you're a plant, you're this house, etc., everyone the wind touches. In Ramadan, he was more generous. So what do we say? We don't make the mistake, I'm going to give once a week. What do we say? I'm just going to give a penny a day. Just give a penny a day. Because what happens is now we get consistent in giving. For most of us, giving is not the problem. It's that we're not used to it. So we come to masjid, we see the box like, oh, I have nothing with me. At the beginning of the month, when you get your paycheck, go to your bank and pull out 30 singles. And say, every day I'm going to put one of these singles into the bank, into the masjid. First of all, I guarantee your money, the next month will have more barakah in it. But secondly, you get in the habit. We get in the habit, not you, we get in the habit of picking up that single and depositing it into the box. Let's say, alhamdulillah, $30 didn't affect my family. $60 next month. $2 a day. Now when we look at it, we think $2 a day is not that much. $1 a day is not that much. $30 a month is not that much. We spend it on, going to divan and eating, whatever the case may be, or our cell phone bills. But if you add $1 a day for a full year, $365. Imagine if everyone in this community gave $1 a day to the new masjid fund. Especially in Jumu'ahs, all the people who come, alhamdulillah, we'd make a bigger dent in that. So, and then Ramadan, we increase it a little more. I gave $1 a day during the regular month, I'm giving $2 a day in Ramadan, whatever the case may be. Whatever the case may be. Qiyamul Layl. Right now, Isha is getting later, so maybe the Tahajjud's hard. So what we say is, I'm going to pray my sunnah, my witr, etc. here in the masjid, then I'll go home. Before I go to sleep, I'll just do a fresh wudu, I'll pray 2 rak'ah. And I'll ask Allah to accept it. Then do that for a month. Next month, make it 4 rak'ah. Do that for a month. Next month, say, okay, I don't want to do a 6 rak'ah. What I'll do is, when I wake up for my suhoor, I'll do the 4 rak'ah. Then, now when Ramadan comes, it becomes easier. And now, it's no longer can I pray, it's how much focus can I get in my prayer. We don't want to fight the battle of am I praying. We want to fight the battle of am I focusing my prayer. Then what do? At the end of Ramadan, we're going to go look at the greener, the grass always greener on the other side. Then we'll turn back to our own lawn and say, SubhanAllah, that's just a lawn. This is, botanical gardens, right? All of a sudden, we'll be pleased, inshallah. On the Day of Judgment, the grass is greener on the other side. That's the only side the grass is greener. It's Jannah. That's the only side the grass is greener. The gardens of Jannah. But the reality is, we have to plant the seeds for that. So we plant it through these efforts. So I know we always do a general community talk before beginning. I really wanted to push this month. If you're interested, I do these forms with my students at school, the preparation for Ramadan forms. You get 1 a week. You get 1 a week, and I send it. And all it is it just, you don't have to send it to me. It's just keep it in a binder and just compare yourself. It tracks, have I been praying every day? What's the one sin I want to give up this week or this month? Have I been giving, what's my goal for sadaqah this week? $1 a day. Did I reach it? Did I not? But it becomes a physical tracking. If I were to ask people here how our Fajr is going, someone might say, my Fajr is not going too well. But when they look at it on the sheet, it'll be much more impactful. Because I might say, I'm having a hard time with Fajr. But if I'm tracking it out, at the end of the week, if I look back, I'm like, whoa, I only prayed Fajr once this week. You know, when you leave an exam, you feel like you did bad. Already, it hurts the heart. But when you go back and you see in red 22%, now the teacher took that knife and just right through the heart. You knew you did horrible anyway. But the moment you see, لَيْسَ الْخَبْرُ كَالْمُعَايَنَةِ, the Prophet said that, news is not like experience. When you experience it, you're like, oh my God, my parents are going to kick my rear end, right? But you see it all of a sudden, you think, what just happened? So the same thing with our lessons or with our worship. We should be marking it down. We should look at it at the end of the week and look, what just happened? Only 10 minutes the whole week in zikr? Only one page of Quran the whole week? Etc., etc. So you should put forth an effort for it. And then if this happens, and I guarantee, this I can say wallahi, I don't say wallahi often, but I can say wallahi to this, that if this community does this, Allah will build your masjid. He'll take care of it. Allah will build your masjid. Forget about raising the funds. Because if you get a community of people who are doing this, Allah's going to expand your masjid to make more people come in like that. So we think the masjid is going to be raised through funds. That's true. Put forth the effort. But tell me, how many years were the Sahaba in Madinatul Munawwara and Masjid Nabawi without a lamp in the masjid? 8 years. Out of the 10 years the Prophet lived there, 8 years they had not even one candle in the masjid and no lamp. Now go to Masjid Nabawi. It's like a palace. You wonder, how is it not one of the wonders of the world? Why? Because it was filled with the believers, so Allah gave them more comfort and more space, and more people would come in now. Do the same thing. Fill this masjid up. Fill the donation box, but fill the masjid up with rijal. لا تلهيهم تجارة ولا بيع عن ذكر الله. The Quran mentions this, right? Rijalun, they're men. And here men doesn't mean XY chromosome. It also refers to women as well. They're people of substance. لا تلهيهم تجارة ولا بيع عن ذكر الله. That their business, their trade, these things that are extra in our lives, they don't distract them from the dhikr of Allah. And they establish their prayer and they give their charity. Because they became people who were fixated on submitting to Allah. So my advice to all of us is, the grass is only greener on the other side if you neglect your own lawn. If you take care of your own lawn, then you'll see how much greener your grass will be. You'll see how much greener your grass will be. So take care of our lawns, inshaAllah, for this forthcoming Ramadan and the years to come in advance. Wa akhiru da'wan, alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.